Hello everybody and thanks for listening. So I'm doing this video and you see this pile of money? This pile of money represents who is making money during the pandemic. Not to mention one other person I'm going to mention in this video who's making big bank. They're not suffering. They're not having to wait in long lines at the EDD. They're not having to call top officials to try to get through to EDD so that they can give you a check. They're not waiting on a stimulus check or a second stimulus check. These are people who are making huge profits off of regular working class or poor people who either poor or just regular working class poor are people who don't make that much money or small business people who are not really making that much money. They might be trying to get by, but they're not really making that much money. These are the people who are profiting off of people who are suffering, who are putting their lives on the line, who are front and center frontline workers who are working the low wage jobs and who could possibly die from the coronavirus or COVID-19 as they say. And so who is making big money? Look at all that money. Big Pharma prepares to profit from the coronavirus. And so this is what is going on in the world. This is who's making the money. This is who's surviving off of the pandemic and people's illness and the spread of this coronavirus and the COVID-19. So as the new coronavirus spreads illness and death and catastrophic around our catastrophic levels around the world, and virtually no economic sector has been spared from harm. And so, yet amid the mayhem from the global pandemic, one industry is not only surviving, but it is profiting handsomely. And you know what they're profiting off of? And I'm going to add in this article the things that I see happening right now and going to continue to happen. They're profiting off of your being sick, you're being dependent on their medicine. We already knew that Big Pharma was profiting off of people's illnesses and sicknesses because some of the medicine they give you has also other side effects, other illnesses that you can acquire. So you will need to take more medicine, which means you'll have to spend more money, or your insurance company will have to come up with more money to continue you on that medicine, and you'll have to be on it. Probably some people are on medicine for the rest of their lives. And so this is who is profiting off of the spread of this COVID-19. This is big bucks, y'all. Even these trials, these little tests that they're doing and people they're using as guinea pigs to test out these vaccines, there's going to be side effects with that. And so they don't have a plan. The only plan they have is to make money off of your demise and your death, your illness in record numbers. So pharmaceutical companies view COVID-19 as a once-in-a-lifetime business opportunity, said Gerald Posner, okay? Or maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. Gerald Posner. So Arthur of Pharma, Greed, Lies, and the Poisoning of America. And that's exactly what this is. So open your eyes, you people that think this is going to get any better. This whole thing is orchestrated. And so the world needs pharmaceutical products, of course. It always has. For some reason, we're dependent on our cell phones. We're being tracked by those. We're dependent on our computers because we use them for almost everything in work and school and calendars and probably storing information that's really sensitive. And so we are basically slaves to the industries that they have put out here before us. So this is yet but another scheme that undermines all Americans, but it also hurts the most vulnerable, which are Black and Hispanic and poor whites and small business owners who don't really make that much money and they're just struggling trying to get by. And if one little slip up, boom, that business could go under and you could lose your business and everything that you worked hard for. You all are the vulnerable population, and you are the ones that they want to open up the businesses and they want you to go back to work. They want you to open up your business and expose yourself to this deadly disease. So the world needs pharmaceutical products. Of course they do. So for the new coronavirus outbreak in particular, we need treatments and vaccines, and we need them right away, don't we? Because people are scared. They're worried that they could die or they could get very gravely ill. And it's not guaranteed that you're going to come out unscathed, because what I've also learned is that even when you come out from having this COVID-19, you might even have severe complications in the long run. With your lung capacity might be less. Um, your breathing might not be as like it was before you caught the disease. So that means you might need medicine, and that's where Big Pharma comes in at. You might have other problems, migraine, headaches, whatever it is, but Big Pharma is here to save the day, so to speak. Or is it to just drain you dry and make you more poor than what you already are? The world is not really watching what's going on, but we are being lied to and we are being hoodwinked, and yet there is a bunch of greedy people out there waiting to pounce. So in the US, these tests, they are scrambling to do all these tests. One is the remdesivir. So dozens of companies are now vying to make them all these different vaccines that one may do the trick. I doubt it. I doubt it. And there's big money in all of these vaccines, because what one doesn't do, maybe another does something in another area. And so it's a race to see who's going to succeed in this, and then who's going to be the next in line. Maybe they have a vaccine that maybe can help you with your breathing, or it can help you with your recovery to recover faster, like remdesivir. Instead of 15 days, maybe 11 days you recover. But that's not to say that you don't need medicine after you recover because you have sustained some type of damage. So they are all in this race, said Posner, who described the potential payoffs for winning the race as huge. A global crisis, that means global money. And so it will potentially be a blockbuster for the industry in terms of sales and profits. And so I said that before I even said sales and profits. See, so I know. So he said, adding that the worst of the pandemic gets, and the worse that it gets, the higher their eventual profit will be. So we can look forward to a wave number 2. That's why they're reopening everything. I know that sounds evil, but when you're greedy and you lie to the population and the masses of people who don't really pay attention and who have this hard head where they're hard to govern, and they want to have this attitude as though you're taking away their privilege of right, because not one group is suffering more than another group is, because another group has a little more funds. They're more financially secure, so they can get the vaccine quicker than the other groups of people. And so that's what this is about. So it's about money, and it's always been about money. So don't let them lie to you. The TV, they lie on the TV and tell you it's going to be all right, and they have this thing nailed, but they don't. And so the only thing they have nailed is put money and more money in their pockets. And so anything they can do to make more money, they're going to do it. And they're more worried about the economy than people's lives. Let me repeat that. They're more concerned about the economy than your life. So listen up. It's about sales and profits, he said, adding that the worse of the pandemic gets, the higher their eventual profits going to be. So the ability to make money off the pharmaceutical companies is already uniquely large in this US, and it's already been like that before the pandemic. It was like that even with cancer. It's been like that with chemo treatments, how expensive those can be. And it's like that with HIV medicine and anybody that gets sick with anything else that's deadly. It's the same thing. And so it goes on to say that the ability to make money off of the pharmaceuticals companies is already uniquely large in the US, which lacks the basic price controls other countries have. Get it? It lacks the basic price controls. Here's going to be the problem, and I'm about to tell you what it is, okay? When they do come up with a vaccine or vaccines that could be proven to be positive, in the beginning they might sell you on this idea that they're going to have them available for everybody, but that's not going to last. And eventually it will become the biggest money maker in pharmaceutical medicine around is to spare you from this deadly disease of this pandemic is the COVID-19 vaccines. And whatever that is proven to work or work the best is going to be a money maker. And don't let them lie to you because it's coming. And that is what this whole thing is going to be about. So during the current crisis, pharmaceutical makers may have even more leeway than usual. This time because of the language industry and the lobbyists inserted into an $8.3 billion coronavirus spending package that passed just last week to maximize the profits from the pandemic. So initially, some lawmakers had tried to ensure that the federal government would limit how much pharmaceutical companies could reach from or could reap from the vaccines. Okay, think about it. Already, they are jumping like clams trying to hop out of a bucket, trying to figure out who's going to make the most money off of people's demise in this COVID-19 pandemic. And that's basically what it is. And I'm just telling it like it is. So the vaccines and the treatments for the new coronavirus that they developed with the use of the public's funding, taxpayer dollars. Those of you that want to know where your taxpayer dollars are going, they're also going for this as well. So in February, Representative Jan Schirowski, Democrat of Illinois, and other House members wrote to Trump pleading that he ensure that any vaccine and treatment developed in the U.S. taxpayer dollars be accessible. Basically, in that language, in layman's terms, make the medicine that you come up with, if it helps to get people well, or it cures, or it does anything of the sort, make it free. That's not happening. Make it at least less of a cost to people who are either they don't have the money or they don't have the access to it. Make it accessible. That might be a problem as well, okay? Because already we're hearing some people pay big bucks for vaccines that others don't have those big bucks and they can't pay that kind of money to get a cure or something that might be close to a cure or something that can control this virus, because we know viruses don't have a cure. And so this is what Big Pharma loves. They love these diseases that don't have cures, but they can be controlled. That's where Big Pharma comes in. You need to have a vaccine. You're going to have to get some kind of medicine to control it so that it doesn't turn into something deadly. So you are at the mercy of these companies, and they know it. Okay, so in February, Representative Jan Schirowski in Illinois and the other House members, they pleaded with Trump, okay? What do you think he's going to do? Who is he for? So, is it accessible, available, and affordable? I don't think so. So, a goal, they said, couldn't be met. So, if pharmaceutical corporations are given authority to set the prices and determine distribution, putting profit making interest ahead of the health priorities, okay? Which I think that's what they're really more concerned about. It's not about people's health, it's more about the profit. And we've heard that. Republicans do not want to really do another $1,200 for Americans. They could do it or they could do without it. They'd rather make you go back to work and put your life on the line and possibly catch this disease because, in the end, it's a win win for them. Okay? And so when the coronavirus funding was being negotiated, Shrowsky tried again writing to the Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar on March the 2nd, and that it would be unacceptable if the rights to produce and market that vaccine were subsequently handed over to the pharmaceutical manufacturers through an exclusive license with no conditions on pricing or access, which means a lot of Hispanics, a lot of blacks, a lot of poor people, and a lot of people who don't have health insurance are in trouble with this COVID-19. It is nothing to play with. They are playing with people's lives based on only money and profits and what they can line their pockets or fill their pockets with. They allow this company to charge whatever it would like and essentially selling the vaccine back to the public who paid for its development through your tax paying dollars. You paid for this, you put into this, but you're not going to get anything out of it except being more broke, maybe not even getting a chance to get the medication because you don't have the health insurance, or you may not get the full medication because you're going to get a generic version, which may not really do the trick, right? And then if you do get this medicine and your insurance covers it, it's what's to say how much this is going to be and if you're going to have to pay something on the side, or if you wind up with something else that you acquire from this medication like a side effect and now you have to take another medicine on top of that vaccine, which means that's more money in the pharmaceutical companies' pockets. But many Republicans oppose adding language to the bill that would restrict the industry's ability to profit. You hear that? Let me read that again. Many Republicans oppose adding language to the bill that will restrict the industry's ability to profit, arguing that it would stifle research and innovation. You got to listen to what's going on because they are looking at more about the money. It's not about your life, not about people's lives. It's about the money. And although Azar, who served as the top lobbyist and the head of the U.S. operations for the pharmaceutical giant Eli Lilly, before joining Trump administration, assured Shrowsky that he shared her concerns. The bill went on to enshrine drug companies, okay, ability to set potential exorbitant prices for the vaccines and the drugs that they develop with taxpayer dollars. Get that? And so that's your money, people. That's the money that you work hard for. If you work, I don't care if you work at Burger King or McDonald's. I don't care if you work for Amazon. And we'll get to that in a minute. And if you work for like a grocery store like Ralph's, or if you work for the post office, or if you're just a small time business owner with a mom and pop shop and you're just trying to get by and you are limited on resources, these are your taxpayer dollars and this is what it's going for. And so the final aid package, okay, not only omitted language that would have limited drug makers' intellectual property rights, but it also left out language that had been in the earlier draft that would also or have allowed the federal government to take any action if it was concerned that the treatments or the vaccines developed with the public funds. The public funds means our taxpayer dollars are priced too high. Think about it. And so those lobbyists deserve a medal from their pharma clients because they killed the intellectual property provision. And so Posner that who added then the omission of language allowing the government to respond to the price gouging. Price gouging. Haven't we heard that language more recently? Even some of the little small time petty thieves online, when you tried to get tissue and you tried to go online and you tried to get all your COVID-19 supplies, all of a sudden a roll of tissue was $10. A bottle of hand sanitizer that was less than 12 ounces was maybe like $16 or $20 a pop. Yeah, price gouging. So they're going to do the same thing. You best believe and you bet your bottom dollar. I had to say that because that's what this is about, money. They're going to price gouge this vaccine. So get ready. This ain't over with yet. So price gouging was even worse. Okay, so to allow them to have this power during the pandemic is outrageous. I agree, it is outrageous. But who's going to stop it? And so, how the Senate, this is related, how the Senate has paved the way for coronavirus profiteering and how the Congress could undo it. Do you think they'll undo it? That remains to be seen. So that's a related article outside of this article. So that's what this is about, you guys. Life and death and money and greed and lies. So the truth is that profiting off of the pandemic investment is also business as usual for pharmaceutical industry. Since 1930s, the National Institute of Health has put some $900 billion into research that drug companies then use to patent brand name medications according to Posner's calculations. So every single drug approved by the FDA, which is Food and Drug Administration, between 2010 and 2016 involves science funded with your tax paying dollars through the NIH, according to the advocacy group. Patients for Affordable Drugs, taxpayers spent more than $100 billion on research. That's your money, y'all, going into this drug that could even make you sicker and you don't even know if it actually works. And on top of that, you might not even be able to afford to use it or get it because of these greedy vultures in the pharmaceutical industry. So among the drugs that were developed with some public funding and went on to be huge earners for private companies are the HIV drug AZT and the cancer treatment Chimera, which Novartis now sells for $475,000. That's like putting some money on a house, or at least a house. And so I told you before I even started reading this that they make big money off of you being sick. They make big money off of the world being sick. So in this book, Pharma, Posner points out that to another example, the private companies making exorbitant profits from the drugs produced from the public funding. So antiviral drugs like soposbuvir, which is used to treat hepatitis C, stem from a key research funded by the National Institute of Health. The drug is now owned by Gilead Sciences, which charges $1,000 per pill. Can you imagine that? So When you get medicine, you see there's like 50 pills. Think of 50 pills that you need for a sickness, and they charge $1,000 per pill. Wow, that's crazy, but it's true. More than many people with hepatitis C can't afford it. They can't afford, okay? They can't afford this. So Gilead earned $44 billion from the drugs during its first 3 years on the market. $44 billion. So I believe they meant to say they can't afford it, but $1,000 a pill, you won't be able to afford something like that unless you make a bunch of money. And not everybody working at Burger King and McDonald's and CVS and some of these little frontline working jobs make that type of money. We know who makes that type of money, but not everybody works jobs that make the six figures. There are some out there that do, but that's not all of us. So, wouldn't it be great to have some of the profits from those drugs go back into the public research at the NIH as Posner? So instead, the profits have funded huge bonuses for the drug company executives. So, do you think the money goes back to help other research or to help other people out that need the help? No, executives get big bucks. They make six figures or maybe more. So executives and aggressive marketing of drugs to consumers, okay? So they make the big money. So they keep profiting off of your being sick. And so they have also been used to further boost the profitability of the pharmaceutical sector. So, according to the calculations by Axios, drug companies make 63% of the total healthcare profits in the US, and that's in part because of the success of the lobbying effort. So, in 2019, the pharmaceutical industry spent $295 million on lobbying. So far from than any other sector in the US, and that's almost twice as much as the next biggest spender. And so the electronic manufacturers and the equipment sector, and well more than the double of the oil and gas companies spent on lobbying. Okay, so the big money makers, pharma, the pharmaceutical companies, the industry also spends lavishly on campaign contributions to both, get this, guys, you've been hoodwinked, the Democratic and the Republican lawmakers. Throughout the Democratic primary, Joe Biden has led the pack among recipients of contributions from the healthcare and pharmaceutical industries. So, big pharma spending has positioned the industry well for the current pandemic, which I'm going to add in here outside of this article that this thing was coming and it's highly orchestrated and engineered, specifically so other people can profit off of other people's death. So while stock markets have plummeted in reaction to Trump administration bungling of the crisis, more than 20 companies working on the vaccine or other products related to the new SARS-CoV-2 virus have largely been spared. And that's not by accident. So stock prices for the biotech company Moderna, which began recruiting participants for the clinical trial of its new candidate for the COVID-19 vaccine 2 weeks ago, have shot up during that time. So on Thursday, a day of general carnage in the stock market, Eli Lilly's stock also enjoyed a boost after the company announced that it too is joining the efforts. So to come up with a therapy for the new COVID-19, and Gilead scientists, which is at work on potential treatments as well, is also thriving in this industry lucratively. So Gilead stock prices was already up since news that its antiviral drug remdesivir and here we go, has in which was created to treat Ebola, was being given to COVID-19 patients. And so it's not a cure, but they've had recent reports that your 15-day of recovery is now reduced to a possibility that it could go from 15 days and now it can be reduced to 11 days or a shorter recovery time. So there's no cure. So think about it. But there's big money in this. So today, after Wall Street Journal reported that the drug had a positive effect on a small number of infected cruise ship passengers for the price, it went up further. And so when they hear this in these trials, they get rich. The the market for that money, it just goes up, up and up. So several companies, including Johnson and Johnson, Diasorin Molecular, and Quagen, have made it clear that they are receiving funding from the Department of Health and Human Services for effort related to the pandemic, but it's unclear whether Eli Lilly and Gilead Sciences are using government money for their work on the virus. To date, HHS has not issued a list of grant recipients, and according to the Reuters, the Trump administration has told top health officials to treat their coronavirus discussions as classified and exclude staffers. Why are they excluding staffers? Is there something they don't want them to hear? Are they hiding some information? Is it really that sensitive that they don't want anybody to know what's really going on? Well, we see already that the big pharma is profiting through the pandemic and they're making a whole bunch of money. And there's some other people making some money, and I'm about to show you in a minute. And excluded the staffers without security clearances from discussions about this pandemic virus. Okay, so former top lobbyists, both Eli Lilly and Gilead, now serve on the White House Coronavirus Task Force. Azar served as the director of the U.S. operations for Eli Lilly and lobbied for the company, while Joe Grogan, now serving as director of domestic policy council, was the top lobbyist for the Gilead Sciences. Okay, and so that is pretty much this article, and I felt like these are the things that people are not really paying attention to. When you go to work at McDonald's, when you go to work at Amazon for Jeff Bezos, when you go to work at Burger King, when you go to work at Ralph's, when you go to work for these companies, you pay tax dollars. That comes out, a portion of your money comes out to help things that thrive in the community, if it's paving the road, the streets, or the street lights, or the schools, or you're helping contribute in some kind of way. You're a taxpayer and you are using your hard-earned dollars, and this is also what you're using. You are not even told that your hard-earned dollars are going into this, but the people who are making the most money aren't you. As the person who might possibly be suffering from COVID-19, it's going to be big pharma companies, big pharmaceutical companies who have complete access to the medications. They know, they have an inside scoop on what works, what works, what kind of side effects it has. They're not afraid to go unmasked. They're not afraid of what's going to happen and what chaos is going to incur and ensue in the later coming weeks or months, because they have an inside access as to what this whole scheme of this whole thing is intentionally doing to Americans. It is draining your wallet dry. It is making you poor, making you dependent on this vaccine and on their medicines so that they can profit off of your illnesses and possibly the death as well. Big pharma is a big problem. And so who's making a lot of money, and I have to add that in here, who is making a lot of money, and he's telling people he'll hire them, and he's going to give them a lot of money and to work for him, and he's going to help all of the Amazon workers. And we've been seeing Amazon workers that have been complaining that they have come down with COVID-19 and that their jobs are not really keeping them safe. There has been those complaints. And so Jeff Bezos remains the richest person in the world. What do you know? Okay. Sam Dangermond, Chanel Vargas. So this week, Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos was trending on Twitter over speculation that his net worth might top trillions of dollars. But as of publishing, he is not even close, they claim. Forbes places his real-time net worth at $144.4 billion. But they say he's well on his way to being a trillionaire. And while Amazon stock is soaring during the coronavirus pandemic, Bezos has said it is also the hardest time Amazon has ever faced because of the impact, or in part, of COVID-related expenses. So last year, his net worth took a hit when in April of 2019, Bezos and his longtime wife, Mackenzie Bezos, reached a settlement of their divorce, resolving any lingering questions about how the split might impact the financial status of the richest man in the world. Bezos retained 75% of their jointly owned Amazon stock and all of the interest in the Washington Post and Blue Origin and the aerospace and space flight company. That left Mackenzie with 4% of Amazon's outstanding shares, totaling $35.6 billion in Amazon stock per CNBC, although she ceded her voting rights to Jeff. So following the split, she was believed to be the fourth richest woman in the world, and for his part, Bezos is still the world's richest man. So in particular ranking, Bezos is still about $38 billion ahead of Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates and the current second richest person in the world, who Forbes estimates his worth is $105.9 billion at publishing. So here's Bezos, who is the head of CEO of Amazon company. And Bill Gates had been at the top of the Forbes ranking in the vast majority of the past 25 years, but Bezos is the newer addition, first appearing on the list in 1998, 1 year after Amazon went public. At that time, the company was worth about $1.6 billion, only a fraction of Bezos' current personal wealth. And here's Bill Gates right here. Gates obtained most of his wealth from Microsoft, and he owns over 1% of the company's stock. In August, the story is continuing. It says in 2010, Gates, alongside of Berkshire Hathaway CEO Warren Buffett, created the Giving Pledge. And so, which that encourages billionaires to give at least half of their wealth to a charitable donation. And by the end of 2018, Gates had given more than $36 billion. So Bezos has not signed the pledge, but has contributed to the various charities on his own. So in September of 2018, he also shared plans to launch the Bezos Day One Fund, and his Instagram post announcing an initiative reads in part, the fund will begin with a commitment of $2 billion to focus on two areas: funding existing nonprofits that help homeless families and creating a network of new and nonprofit tier one preschools in tier one preschools in low income communities. So this is where he plans to do some of his charity, which is good. but that has yet to be seen. So, day one fun, I talk often about the importance of maintaining day one mentality. So, this is from Jeff Bezos. Okay, so it always day one, and I work hard to apply my mindset to everything I do. And it was day one outlook that I made me reach out to ask for suggestions on approaches to philanthropy last year. So, by so many important measures, the world keeps getting better, and it's one of the fantastic aspects of human nature that we humans never stop looking for and finding ways to improve things. Our lives are better than our great grandparents' lives, and their lives were better than their great grandparents' lives before them. So, if our own great grandchildren don't have lives better than ours, something has gone very wrong. So, where's the good in the world, and how can we spend it or spread it? How can we spread it? And so, where are the opportunities to make things better? And these are exciting questions. So, Mackenzie and I share a belief in potentials for hard, and I believe there might be more to this. Okay, so that was by Jeff Bezos, and I believe there's some photos here, and it may show even maybe children. So those are good things to hear, and but when we hear people from his company, from Jeff Bezos' company, saying they came down with COVID-19 and that they're suffering and they don't have protocols in place, they don't have gloves, they don't have masks, or there's nobody really doing the work to try to solve these problems, yet he's one of the richest people in the world, and he has all these lovely things to say about day one and how to be this model individual and how to work towards trying to give things to people. His own company has issues. So, what do you think about that? And then Big Pharma continues to profit off of this pandemic and this crisis. So, despite what you hear on the news that people all over are suffering, not everybody is suffering. And some of these people that want to reopen things up, some of them may work from home and they're getting money. They just want to go to their shopping malls. They want to spend their big bucks that they have sitting around. It's boring sitting by the pool in that backyard, in that big house, and having those cookouts. It's time to go to the shopping mall. It's time to go to the theater. It's time to do all the things that put poor people's lives at risk. And so, Big Pharma is profiting off of people's demise, the spread of illness, death, and catastrophe around the world, and mayhem. And this is not going to get better before it gets worse. It's going to get ugly, is what's going to happen, because you have a select group of people who don't suffer as much as others do, who don't have to work as hard as others do, who don't have to put their self out there to get infected with COVID-19 like others do because they have to pay their rents. They're worried about being evicted, or they're worried about paying their bills on time. There are other people who just sit back and work at home and don't worry about anybody else except worrying about how many stocks they've made and how much money is going to line their pockets and where they're going to vacation next month. So, in saying that and parting, like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for listening. Open your eyes up, be safe, start stocking up on your things because this is not over with yet, and they're eventually going to get the numbers of people that are going to start getting more infections because of the gatherings, because people are listening to these people that are protesting who don't give a hoot about your life. They don't care. All they care about is their money and watching it go up and down in the stock market and go up, 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 up. And then when it goes down, they freak out. And that's why they want you to go back to work, because they don't care if you get sick. All they care about is that they have money in their bank accounts or in the Cayman Islands stashed away somewhere. So when there's an emergency, those are the people that are going to get out of the city while you end up getting gravely ill and having to be dependent on their big pharmaceutical companies, and that further lines their pockets. Thank you for listening.